Hello guys, thank you so much for joining us today, and we are so excited to talk about this topic that we have been sitting on for a little bit of time. But today we are going to be talking about Microsoft Teams versus GoToMeeting. Now, some of you guys might not know what GoToMeeting is, but we are so excited to introduce to you one of our good friends, Aaron from Method Technologies. Say hello.
Hey guys.
We are so excited to have him here, and he is an expert on GoToMeeting, and he has used it and has been using it with his company for a while now. So we are going to talk about what we know best, which is Microsoft Teams. So Bobby is going to take the side of Teams, and Aaron is going to take the side of GoToMeeting, and we are going to go head to head and see what happens. So let's get started by having Bobby kick it off with Teams.
All right, thanks. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share out my screen so that we can kind of see how we can do the Meet Now option. So
Let's do it.
Now, I could show you what it looks like on the web browser. That'd be showing off because it looks the same. I'm not going to do that. But as you can see here, Teams has got its little calendar, which it's quite frankly, it's the same as what you have in Outlook. They stay in sync. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and make an appointment. If I wanted to, I would just go ahead and schedule it here, but I'm not. I'm just going to hit the Meet Now option, which is right here in the top right. So when I hit the Meet Now, what that's going to do is it's going to create this opportunity for me to name the meeting session. So we can say discussion about cat waxing. And then
I really like that topic.
I do.
Yes,
I really
he
do.
does.
I can set whether I want to have the filter effects, which I know that is a little bit of a challenge for some products, but not
It
Teams.
is.
So we have this native in the background filter. So you can do blurring, you can do whatever kind of style. In fact, in a new release that's coming out with Teams, you can actually even have it to where it's in the corner, like you're doing a news article that's coming out, I think, in Q1 of next year. These are more advanced settings you can do for like Teams rooms or audio conferencing and things like that. But I'm just going to hit join now.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to do that, and that screen that we just saw is a new feature that they've just started doing, I think, this month. Everything's always changing for them. All right, so now it's gone ahead and it kicked off the session. What it does is right here on this participants section, I can click on this, and this lets me see what's going on. So in here, I can go ahead and say, copy join information, and I could do that, and I'll just in simplistic purposes, the link is just a web. It's just an email link. See, so there's nothing special about it. And then there's the phone number and everything. I could have created an email. I could paste it on a website. I could send the invite via an email to someone and say, "Hey, I'm meeting right now. Join." I could paste it in another Teams meeting. I could send it through a text message. That's kind of really the two ways that you can do it through, which we're kind of talking about, is the Meet Now option and being able to send it to participants. So the Meet Now, I don't really have the ability from here to send it as an email. I have to actually create it by an email. That way.
Great point.
Looks good, Bobby.
So what you got, Aaron?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete with that. So for GoToMeeting, I'm going to start with the GoToMeeting hub, which is actually in the web browser. And then we'll go into the app that you can install on the computer. But I would say shifting more towards the web browser is definitely the trend that things are going in. So creating a meeting is very simple. You just click on Create Meeting, and it's going to give you the title about cat waxing discussion. And you can choose whether you want to do your online meeting room or just a one-time meeting. So a meeting room would be like a recurring meeting, like for maybe it's a weekly management meeting or stuff like that. One-time meeting, you would provide the date, time, and how long you expect it to be. And you can choose some options here for audio inside of the meeting and personalize it as well. So if we wanted to, add here cat waxing discussion to the URL, we could do that, and we could change the theme to a different color. And you can also add co-organizers as well if you have somebody else that may need to take control of the meeting, or if somebody else needs to start the meeting if you're absent, things like that. And then requiring a meeting password. So if you wanted to make that meeting secure so that people just couldn't join in if they had the URL, you can require a password.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It doesn't really give you specifically passwords set up inside Teams, but it does have the lobby and the invitation options.
So after that, you just hit save. And you can start the meeting right here. Very similar to Teams, you have a little a snippet here that you can copy. I'll do the same and use Word to show you what it looks like. Obviously, you can paste this into an Outlook invite or an email and things like that as well. So pretty nifty. The second thing I wanted to show is just the ability to do the same thing through the app that you can install on the computer. So you can just go to Meet Now in the app. It's going to basically open up a meeting and start it. There we go. You can see I have my logo in there by default. And then at this point, we can go in here and we can either copy the meeting link. We can choose whether the meeting is locked or unlocked here. And I can just click on Invite. And you can copy the link or start an email directly from here. So
it does give you the email option. That's nice.
Yeah, and then that would just open up an email through Outlook or whatever client you have. So
and in my defense, I didn't show you the web version because it looks identical. There is really not much any differences at all. But there's obviously significant differences between GoToMeeting, between the client that you have installed as well as the web browser. So that's interesting. There's some big differences.
Right.
The names in Teams are very weird how they're set up, and we've discussed this on a previous video, and I'll link it up above if you guys haven't seen our Teams video that we posted recently. But we talk about all of the confusing names that Teams has for different organizers and presenters and attendees, and there's so many, but I think it's really interesting how simple that is. Like a co-organizer, that makes so much sense. It's right there. You can add it as you're creating the meeting. Very simple, which I do like.
All of the different brands that that have products like this are going to have similar capabilities at some point, and some are leading more than others. But I would say in general, all of them are pretty comparable. It really comes down to what integrates with your organization and what your users are comfortable with.
That's a great.
All right, so Kaylee, can I ask you to make a decision here? Who do you think is the winner in this
gosh,
first
you're
head-to-head
putting me on this. Putting me on the spot.
I could throw something out, I mean, I think another consideration is how you're using these products. So for example, if most of your meetings are internally with people within your company,
great point.
Teams is really easy because you have your chat right there and you can just start your session right there.
Yes.
Versus GoToMeeting, I mean, usually what I'm doing is I'm pasting my GoToMeeting URL in Teams to somebody.
Right.
So from that perspective, I mean, like I said, I use both products.
Yeah.
So our next topic is about scheduling a meeting. So we're going to kick it off with Teams again. So Bobby is going to start by sharing his side first.
Okay, so focusing down on the scheduling, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about this just because we've covered this in a lot of detail in previous videos. So Kaylee can post something in the video with that reference. But I'm just going to go ahead and click, I just single clicked in here, and then I can pick the title. And we can do Teams versus GoToMeeting. And then I can put attendees that I want to have in here. Notice that there's no Teams information in here. It does not put it in there until after I start inviting people. So if I hit save right now, all I did is just create a meeting in my Outlook that will remind me, because the Outlook calendar and the Teams calendar are the same thing. They stay in sync.
Right.
But I'm going to invite Kaylee. And if you start to type, you can obviously put that information in here. I can pick the reoccurrence and the repeat by here, like day, week, month. I can go ahead and do the date and the time in here. I can say whether I want it to be an all-day event. I can add specific Teams channels, which is kind of outside the scope of this kind of thing, but it's very interesting. I can put a location. I could do a Teams room if I wanted to, if I had that set up, which is something outside the scope of this, but it's very cool. As you kind of start to see, Teams kind of cheats a little bit because they've got a so much larger product infrastructure they can pull into. They're starting to allow these connectivities, and it's a little harder to do a contrast and comparison between Teams and Meeting from that perspective.
Yeah.
And then if you have some notes, you could actually paste some files. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send here, and then it's going to go ahead and create that invite down here for her.
Now, did it just send her an email?
It did.
Yes,
it will.
It did.
Now I can click on it to get more information in here. This kind of goes back to the previous video that Kaylee was talking about where you can change participants and things like that with permissions. This gives me the control of whether I want people to be able to present, like what you were talking about when you're setting up your meeting, Aaron, in the previous comparison where you could say, hey, I want this person to be an organizer. You can kind of do all those settings under here.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so if Microsoft is listening, please update that feature. We would love that.
Yeah, we really
Just
would.
kidding.
We really would like that. So that's what I got, Aaron. What you got?
We're going to show 2 different ways to do that, 3 different ways to do this, depending on what you're comfortable with. So right here is the the web interface where we can create a meeting, and for a recurring meeting or a one-time meeting, you can use those 2 options here. Once again, for a recurring meeting, we're just going to set up a meeting room where it's just something that that you can join, one-time meeting. But for scheduling something, what I actually prefer to do is use the app on the computer. So I could go over here to my Meetings section of GoToMeeting, and it has a list of all my scheduled meetings here, when they're happening, you know, and it automatically falls off after they're done. So if it's not going to recur again, it'll just fall out of the list. So I can schedule a new meeting directly from here, give it a name. Part 2, lots of discussion. And is it going to recur once or multiple times? I think the biggest difference here between Teams and GoToMeeting is the occurs multiple times isn't really going to say a date and time. It's just going to say, yeah, you can use this link more than once until you're done with it. Versus the Teams one, I noticed it actually has you set the date and the time.
Yeah.
So that's a little different there. So if I start this here, it's currently scheduling it, and then at that point it's in this window, and I can now invite people to it, which is going to pull up. This is all using the web portal or the app on the computer. Now, I use Outlook almost exclusively, and what I prefer to do is actually use the Outlook plugin. So if I come over here and I have the plugin installed, I can go directly from here and just say schedule a meeting. And what it's going to do is open up an invite, and I can, you know, cat waxing discussion, and you know, we can do part 3 now, and send it here. Right?
Yeah.
The cool thing about this is not only is it going to allow me to schedule it, and I can send it here, but it's also going to save it into my Meetings section of GoToMeeting, so that I can manipulate this meeting later on if I want it to be recurring or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of how the scheduling feature in GoToMeetings works.
You kind of did my intro right there, because if you look in the top left, it says Teams meeting.
Like I said, I use both of them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can. So right here, if I wanted to make an appointment, right, I could just click here on the time, and then there's the team meeting right there. And it's already, if you have Teams installed on your computer, this plugin is there in your Outlook. And as soon as I hit that, it dumps the information.
So does Teams have any sort of spot inside of the application where you can manage your meetings?
Well, other than the Teams calendar.
Yeah, it's just.
So you have to find it on the calendar.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't have a grocery list like you have in the.
That's very interesting that it
Yeah.
doesn't have a grocery list of items.
I would have to give you one small sliver of a square of a star for that one, but
That
It
does
seems
get
odd that they
break-
wouldn't have that feature in there, though. I don't know why they, like the ability to just look at all your meetings at a glance
Yeah.
and know what's coming up and things like that, rather than focusing on your calendar.
yeah, can you go into that vanity because we don't really get that with Teams? Like, how do you? What do you feel that gets you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a consistent URL. So I mean, we use our professional service automation system to automatically schedule recurring tickets for our meetings, and those templates that we use within that system always has the same URL in it. So
Interesting.
the ticket that's generated for everybody to put their time to the meeting and things like that, it's always got that same URL. So we don't have to create a new one for every meeting.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great point. Well, I think that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think we learned some ups that GoToMeeting.
Well, I don't know.
one-ups.
We'll let the jury decide.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our video. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to our channel for more content. Bye.